It was an early game.
Yeah.
The early games are the best because they have a breakfast buffet. I got there just before the game, so I didn't have time to like sit in the appropriate area. I just loaded up a plate, scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage, dessert, fudge banana bread or whatever on top of the bacon because we don't have time for separate plates. And just loaded up and just watched the first period and behind a mound of breakfast foods.
Oh, we get a lot of shots. Everybody come to the net. We just have to get more and more pucks to the net.
Pucks on net.
Go pucks on net.
Pucks on net.
We used to talk about in Vancouver getting pucks on net.
What were you saying about putting pucks on net?
Continue to put pucks on net.
Pucks on net!
Put pucks on net and get lucky sometime.
Pucks on net and driving and making it a hard night on.
Live on tape from Geeta's apartment, her palatial estate on the 23rd floor. This is Pucks on Net, a Vancouver hockey podcast that doesn't talk about fantasy or fancy stats. We're full of noodles, full of coffee. We're having a great time. I don't know how we're going to top. Last week's show was a hot one.
Well, let's just be clear. Not all of us are full of noodles, Ryan. Some of us didn't get an invite this week.
You know where I'm going to be every day, every Monday at 6 o'clock.
Actually, tell them where we were trying to send you.
I show up to Geeta's apartment 20 minutes early this week, which is rare because of the Lionsgate Bridge, if you know what I mean. And she answers her buzzer from her cell phone. Oh, we're at Noodlebox. Come to Noodlebox. Nobody told me. And then
Thought you were getting Subway.
Then they say that because last week I was in a rush and had to get Subway, so now every week I have to get Subway, apparently.
Well, that's going to tie into a very good listener question later. But that being said, my name is Ryan Schapp.
Oh, right. Yeah, we're doing a show.
I'm going to be your host for the evening. Joined to my immediate left on her new couch in her very Canadian pajama pants riding shotgun. That's Geeta. She owns this joint.
Hello.
And P Mac.
And P Mac.
Fresh off of one hell
Of a breakfast.
of a breakfast at Rogers Arena.
Yeah, I haven't eaten since yesterday at Rogers Arena midday.
We're going to bring...
What are you whining about? I didn't get an invite. I was dining with Henrik Zetterberg.
comparing notes on beards.
That was like 36 hours ago, Geeta.
I want to thank you for... I want to thank Henrik Zetterberg for keeping Paul's spirits up, and I want to thank you for joining us wherever you got us from. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at PucksNetCR, PucksNetCa. And if you want to support the show monetarily, head on over to patreon.com/PucksOnNet where you can pledge a couple of bucks. And upwards of $5 will get you some instant access to all our bonus content. 5 minutes for paying, our monthly shows, and we have a new donor to thank this week, guys. $5.
Ooh.
We got Grace M is pledging $5. So we want to thank Grace very much for her contributions.
Thank you.
For her grace.
And I have a hell of a correction to make this week, guys. Because what is my tradition on this show?
You
Andreas
mispronounced names.
Westling?
It's Westling. Andreas Westling.
Now, it's a weird correction, though, because it is a dojo. They just don't like pronouncing their R's. So it's Andreas Westling.
That changes everything.
I think it is Andreas, though.
Andreas. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I would assume.
I actually did not get clarification on the first name, but they sent the podcast an email over the weekend saying, minor correction.
Yeah, it would be Andreas Westling.
Yeah, so Westling.
And then next week we're going to find out it's not Grace
Westling.
M. It's
Grassam.
something completely different.
Gragem.
We're sorry, Grace. We're sorry, Andreas.
It's like Grace M.
But this is a true honor for Ryan to mangle one's name.
Yeah.
He mangled my name for the first 6 years we knew each other.
Paul Michelin.
He still messes up mine.
Yeah,
this is
that's true. I'm sorry.
That's an awkward silence. All right, move along.
We're just compiling a list of why we can't be friends with Ryan.
An airing of grievances.
Here, let's get Dave on the line while he's in our nation's capital. 3 hours ahead in the future. Dave, are you there?
Are we still? Are we
3
still
hours in the future, and it's minus 38 with the wind chill today.
You know what I did today? I went out and ran errands. I didn't even wear a coat. Sorry, Dave.
Well, you know, as a person with two good knees, we both know you're lying about running. You weren't running anywhere, Paulie.
That's just mean-spirited.
Hey, you started it. You started
don't
it,
like
and I'm
each
cranky
other
because
this
it's
week.
cold.
I was just sharing the news.
Are we still friends 3 hours in the future?
Well, only Dave would know that. Dave,
We'll see how this phone call goes.
that's fair enough. Hey, I guess we should talk about the biggest thing that happened in this city, and that our young everybody's schoolyard crush Elias Pettersson is back playing with the Canucks. He came back very quick, or he went back to business very quickly, scoring a goal, a tip in. So it's not up to snuff. But
it was a great tip-in.
It was a pretty good tip-in. And he, unfortunately, was just a fight away from a Gordie Howe hat trick. And I could just feel like he was ready to...
That's why he got benched for the end of the third period. His coach didn't want him breaking a hand.
Yeah, you're talking about his goal like it's an empty netter that needs a name.
What did we land on? Schneep? A schneep.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question.
It's a real schneep job there. Yeah, and I don't know. I think we just call it an Eberle, since he always seems to get empty net goals.
Hey, do we start off with this week's installment of On the Rig?
I would love to start with an episode of On the Rig, because I happened to, due to a little bout of insomnia, and that game was on late last night, I caught most of that Carolina-Edmonton debacle. And I'm a little confused, because the mysteries of the front office of the Edmonton Oilers continue. They signed Mikko Koskinen to a 3-year, $4.5 million a season contract today.
Yeah, Ryan and I were talking about that just before we started recording, and that was the one for me where I was like, they've been bad deals, but that really doesn't make sense to me, because he has not been that much better than Cam Talbot.
Not that much better, Paulie. You're right, and his numbers are what I would call Ryan Miller Vancouver acceptable. He's not a bad goalie, but he's not $4.5 million. He's not even $2.5 million good, and that's what he's getting paid now.
I think they'd be better off with Ryan Miller right now.
Did they overpay because it's Edmonton and that's the only way you're gonna lure someone?
It's a pretty rough place to live in. It's the only place that makes Ottawa look good.
Downtown Ottawa looks like a Soviet jail or something, from what I can tell.
Yeah, it's as bad as it looks. Let's put it that way.
I Googled photos of Edmonton this week.
Yeah.
The city. And Google only gives you photos of Calgary.
And just like that, our last listener in Edmonton just unsubscribed.
Well, they've been having to deal with a lot of On the Rig this year, so we apologize.
They're a little behind the times, Paulie. They're probably listening on a Zune.
Let's go to some shameful things about Edmonton. I think they put their trade anything for offense plans on hold last week when Milan Lucic scored 3 goals, and they think I had the feeling that they thought that everything was going to be A-okay because they had their secondary scoring, and then that just completely swept under the rug as the problems began to mount again.
Well, who's hotter right now, Milan Lucic or Louis Eriksson? What's going on?
Who's hotter? That's pretty. Yeah, they're both making a lot of money. They're making the same amount of money or they're getting paid the same amount per goal, it seems.
And they both have seemingly found their games at exactly the same time. But unlike our friend dear Milan Lucic, Louis is actually helping his team win hockey games. That performance last night was one of the most disheartening and disloyal to the fan base things I've seen in a long time. That team absolutely did not show up against Carolina. They were down 3-0 before they even realized they were in the hockey game. We were beating a dead horse here by my campaign to free Connor McDavid from the frozen tundra of Edmonton, but it really is the best thing for the league and for him is to get him the hell out of there. That shit's not getting better. That is going to get worse before it gets better.
Have you noticed how old he looks now?
Mm-hmm.
He looks weathered.
He looks like a president in their second term.
He's had a worse 10-year challenge than Paulie's knees.
That's fair.
He's not wrong.
This is my expert instant analysis on Paul's legs.
The first half of this show is brought to you by Paul's knees.
I honestly think that there's a ticking clock on Chiarelli. I can't believe that Daryl Katz let him sign this deal. Like, that is a vote of confidence in a GM when you let him blow $12.5 million or whatever it ended up being on a goaltender. On a goaltender that's played, his NHL experience is what, like 30 games max? Like, he had a cup of coffee with the Islanders back in 2009.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one.
In the full head of hair Dave McPhail days.
I've heard the people, though, that are saying it's a good call in Winnipeg, that are in Edmonton, they're pointing to the fact that he had a winning record in Russia, and I'm going, that's not something you base that big a contract on. There are some names ready to move right now on the goaltending front. You could go after, like, I don't know. Yeah, I think this means Talbot will get moved, though, for some sort of asset, but it's the way things are going. It's gonna be buyer's market out there if you want a Cam Talbot. You could probably have him for, a
couple of bucks.
They'll probably give you another asset on top of Talbot just to take him.
Oh, like McDavid? You could package the two of them.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I heard he was going for futures somewhere.
This is an interesting... Connor McDavid had an interesting quote in the media today, which you could interpret it for the absolute worst. That there's problems in the team, but the quote is, if you don't believe in this group and you're in the locker room, you need to leave. So
everybody got up and it was just Connor. Sorry, bud.
And Luch, because he had nowhere else to go.
Luch did you see him? You were watching that Oilers game too, but did you see when Cassian knocked Jordan Martinook into the bench and started feeding him? And
Milan did not approve.
Milan was angry stepdad, like, get out of here, god damn it.
I'm trying to sleep.
He did look a little snoozy. Interesting thing came out today. They can trace this back even further to Messier, but we'll keep it a little more current. June 22nd, 2017, Jordan Eberle was traded straight up for Ryan Strome to the Islanders. November 16th of this year, Ryan Strome was traded straight up for another Ryan Spooner to New York. And today, New York Rangers. And today, Ryan Spooner was placed on waivers, while Jordan Eberle and Ryan Strome are not on waivers.
Ty Ratty also going on waivers today, so some pot stirring going on in Edmonton. They're going to hopefully
make a trade,
fire things up. Well, I was thinking they'd bring up some guys from the farm or something, because why not?
Ugh.
There was a lot of there was a bit of minor buzz on Ty Ratty for being like a sleeper stud, wasn't he? Wasn't there at the beginning of the season?
That was Ryan misleading.
That's in the fantasy league, but yes, he came in and he got a bunch of goals and had instant chemistry with
in the preseason. He won this year's Fedorov award.
Yes.
He didn't play at all.
The Fedorov award really needs to become a real thing, by the way, folks. They should do a preseason MVP. Nashville would love to have that.
They need another banner.
It's going to go to Teuvo Tolvanen or whatever that Finnish kid was. It seems like a bit of a bust that they picked up. But yeah, it just gets worse. I sent Ryan a blog post about this, but in another city, in the city that I'm living in, because it's more on the forefront of my brain of what's going on with ownership. And I talk about this a lot in the limited conversations I have on the show with you guys, but it starts at the top, and it's just a shame that you can't fire the owners because, again, things will not get better at Edmonton, and Daryl Katz sells that team. Even if he dies, it's just going to go to that weird son in all the draft photos. We can't have that either.
I don't know. It could be like Chicago, where when Bill Wirtz disappears, all of a sudden the team turns the tides. That kid might be, what the Edmonton Oilers need to mix things up.
Oh, he is the future?
Yeah, he is. That's him. That's the futures. That's the one they keep talking about.
That'll be the irony of the whole situation is that kid has been there a heartbeat away the whole time, just to the right in the photo, and he's been the secret genius they've needed all this time.
You thought it was a big, he's got big hair, but that's just, his brain. He's really smart.
He's got a great hockey mind. Look at that head.
He's got a great mind in general.
He's got a big dome on him, eh?
Big dome, eh?
Dave, we will because it's a little late. We'll cut you short for this week, but we do enjoy you phoning in every Monday.
Phoning it in.
This one's for you, Ryan.
I know.
You do know. No, you know. It's great to talk to you guys. Keep your sticks on the ice. It's I live in a place where you can literally skate to work. It's not as romantic as it sounds.
How far away from the router are you this week?
How far away from the router am I?
Yeah.
I think it's the weather. I think the internet's running a little slow because
You're like every other word.
No, it's not that bad. But anyway, we'll talk to you next week. And as always, let's all say goodnight to Dave.
Good night, Dave.
Good night, Dave.
Good night, everybody.
And everybody on the...
Is that a thing you're trying to make happen?
I got some positive response about us saying, hey, everybody listening, let's all shut up. Everybody say goodnight to Dave. He's 3 hours ahead. He's in the future. Only he knows if this is going to be a good show or not, guys. Now, last week, that was a good show. I don't even know if we're going to top last week's show.
See, Ryan doesn't tell everybody to shut up when Don Cherry is on anymore. This is his new shut up, everybody. Say goodnight to Dave.
I think Dave likes to know that the listeners are saying goodnight to him.
Because good night, Dave, was shut up, Dave.
I guess, yeah. I also thought, won't it be great when the ownership is passed down in Edmonton and we can say the owner is kittens instead of cats?
That's adorable.
I just wanted to say for those...
That guy also has a twin sister.
Really?
Yeah.
Why doesn't she
also
get...
stuff I've Googled.
Why doesn't she get to be there on draft day?
When that boy has grown up before our eyes,
Yeah.
you become emotionally attached to him, and you're gonna Google the Katz family.
I can't wait for the movie they make about him, and they're gonna have what's his name, Jonah Hill, playing him.
They're gonna make him put
New
on
Jonah
weight.
Hill can't play him.
Old Jonah Hill can.
Didn't you see Vice? These guys can expand and thin up in no time.
I feel like Carrot Top could still play him.
He's too jacked.
Wow.
He's addicted to the juice.
For
For those listening,
Was that me?
no, it's real. It's accurate. It's realistic. I look
the
Carrot Top-
juice part.
I didn't say that.
steroids.
I know.
Not OJ.
Thank you for specifying that you weren't talking about a legal substance.
That's only baseball. They don't do that in hockey.
Oh, but Carrot Top's not a hockey player.
He's a prop comic.
They can do whatever they want.
I wanted to say to the listeners that he didn't do it this week, but usually we have day of video in, or Skype in, so we can see him on video. Easier to communicate. It was just a video of me, and it's kind of dark in here, and I'm backlit, and the blue light from the giant TV kind of made me look like a serial killer in the Skype. Yeah, kind of. You know who doesn't look like a serial killer? Oh, Paul, did you know?
What?
Oh, I thought you were pointing to something.
No?
Oh. You know what I'm pointing to?
No.
The return of Elias Pettersson.
Okay.
Was there a buzz in that building on Sunday night afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of Red Wings fans at the game. Detroit's one of the teams that still pulls in a noticeable crowd, and they had a "Go Red Wings Go" or "Go Wings Go" chant going a couple times that was very audible.
Was it from like a wing eating contest or something? Like a chicken wing contest?
No.
Shit. Oh, well. I don't know how that team could be bringing in fans if Hank Zetterberg's, sitting up in the press box with you comparing beards.
Nostalgia.
It's the same as...
Sorry,
I was going to say, it's the same as the Habs and the Leafs and stuff. All those teams with enough history generally bring in a big crowd of fans that, come from families that were fans of teams before the Canucks existed. Like, I've still got Habs roots. My dad's family was French Canadian, so... No,
because even if you were outside, like in downtown Vancouver, because it was like post-brunch this game.
The post-brunch crowd.
Yeah, no, for every Canucks jersey, there was at least a Red Wings jersey accompanying them.
Well, I mean, I did experience this when I went on my social experiment over the Christmas holidays to the Philadelphia Flyers game, where a lot of my Philly brethren were in the same shade of orange as I was. Same front pockets full of used batteries, ready to throw at anybody at a moment's notice.
Right.
The scouting report from a friend of mine who lives downtown before the game on Sunday morning was that tons of Red Wings jerseys out and about, checking out the sites, going for brunch, and Michael Delzato.
He's still here?
Yeah, he was wandering the streets with some shopping bags. He was spotted by my friend.
Because for those that aren't aware, he hasn't been able to get a proper work visa yet because of the government shutdown.
Yeah.
So he's like Louis Domingue when he got waived by the Arizona Coyotes, and they're like, but we still want you to practice around town. So he's buying ice time.
Not quite the same. I mean, he's not even Canucks property, so They're not even trying to. I mean, I'm sure they're. If he needs something, they'll hook him up.
They're pretending he never happened.
No, they're like, we're not. I don't know if the Anaheim Ducks are going to cover the bill for his ice rentals down at 8 Rinks, but Why
didn't he just go to like the free skate at Killarney or something?
He should have gone to the free skate down at Robson Square there.
Don't you have to pay?
It's too hot.
You bring your own skates, you can get in there for free.
Oh, well, I'm sure he's got that.
He's there doing line rushes.
In a Ducks jersey. Quack, 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 mister. Anyway.
Speaking of the Ducks,
some of the original Mighty Ducks from the film series were at a Ducks game the other day.
That's
really?
right.
Which ones?
Adam Banks.
Was Keenan Thompson
Yeah,
there?
he was there. Julie the cat.
Oh,
Gaffney.
Julie. Yeah, I'm mixing
Is
up.
it everybody but Goldberg and Joshua Jackson, pretty much?
He was there, and then there was one that
Only
I
a few
didn't
of them.
recognize.
There were a lot of kids that were sort of in the
There's
movies,
like 5
but
of them.
not
Adam
a
Banks
big deal.
did not age well.
Is that like a omen for our boy Brock Besser? Because they got some similar attributes. Minnesota boys,
I'll
pretty
show you.
boys,
Nah.
long-haired.
Brock's a bigger power forward Viking-looking guy from Minnesota. Banksy wasn't a Viking.
with access to real money.
How did Brock Besser look with his pal Petey back at the lineup flanking him?
He's looked pretty good. Even, I mean, maybe the numbers aren't there, but yeah, he's finally he's been playing better lately. I still thought he looked a step behind for the first little bit of the season.
I got the sense, like, I don't know if we said this last week, but when Petey's not in the lineup, he looks like he just doesn't look as confident. Like he's a bit of a half step away from everything.
When did they become so codependent?
When something that good and positive comes into your life, it's
Right.
kind of like, where have you been all my life?
Yeah.
And I can't picture my life without you.
Right.
And Sven Berchi cannot do what you do.
He
Right.
put up like 3 or 4 goals in that stretch, though, coming off an injury.
Wait,
That line looked pretty good. Horvat, Berchi, and Besser. Like, I don't think it was Besser not looking confident out there to me. It was more a matter of just like, you don't have a
Yeah.
Pettersson out there,
Right.
and he's the top offensive threat all of a sudden. And it's always the issue on the power play when Pettersson's been out of the lineup is as soon as they focus on Brock, the power play shuts down. When you have Pettersson, not only does he drive the play through, like he's the Henrik Sedin passing guy, but he's just like the threat on the other side because you close it down on one side when there's no Pettersson, and there's not much of a threat there. Berchi was sort of providing a little bit of, but he was getting goals because they were cheating and focusing on Brock more than they were Sven.
Yeah, totally. But there's just that extra. There's just that the plays they make are just that much smarter. They're just that much quicker. There's just something else about them. And when Brock is playing with Bo, it's just not quite there. They are also
Well,
in a
they're different
slump.
players.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just looking at this photo you showed me of. Is Adam Banks number 99?
Yes.
Yeah.
He looks like Zach Cassian.
Really?
I don't know. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw that photo of a modern day Adam Banks wearing a helmet and wearing number 99.
Swipe through these.
Mhm.
There's some other photos. It doesn't look like Zach Cassian.
Oh,
But
poor
but
Banksy. Ryan's swiping
definitely-
left on this.
Which one is he?
The one with the hair.
One in the middle?
The tall one. Yeah, the one in the middle.
Oh, okay. He looks really good. Compared to that last photo. But
Ryan Getzloff's in the middle of one of them. It's not Ryan Getzloff. Like, I was afraid for a second. He was like, "Oh, Banksy's looking rough," and I'm like, "No, that's Getzloff."
Well, he's looking rough. He's not having a very good year on that Ducks team. Hey, the Ducks won some games, guys.
Did they now?
They won.
Who did they beat?
They beat the Minnesota Wild. They shut them out 3-0, and then they went to New York and they got a win, and then they got a loss. So they rattled off 2. They got some confidence back. They made a whole bunch of random bottom 6, spice trades. Good
Just
stuff.
mixing it up. I mean, the sad thing is they couldn't get the gem out of those 4 trades. Mikey Delzato.
He's still at the public skate down at Robson Square, trying to explain to them how old he is. That he doesn't need a helmet.
He doesn't look that young.
No, he looks. I think he's.
He looks age appropriate.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And he's a well-dressed guy. We'll give him that.
This Canucks fan base and this Canucks year, it's up and down. It's ups and downs of just sheer joy and adulation and something new, and then boredom. So maybe we've forgotten that on Friday Thatcher Demko played for the Canucks.
It's been a long week.
Yeah, there's been a lot of sports. There's a lot going on, but it wasn't as. It was funny. Like everyone's like, Thatcher Demko's playing well. He's already played once. He's already got a win. But now he's really playing. Like, it's not a spot start. It's for real. And he looked pretty good out there. He made 36 of 39 saves. He beat the Buffalo Sabres 4-3. 4-3.
It's better than 5-4 that he had in his first game.
Yeah.
And then they were throwing out that stat that they kept sort of like they didn't quite understand, but he was the first goalie drafted by Vancouver to start their career in Vancouver 2-0.
Okay. That's an exciting stat.
They've only had, since like 1985, they've only had 4 goaltenders that they've drafted that played more than one game for the club or something. Or
Who
started
are they?
For the,
Corey
Schneider and Corey Hirsch were the 2 I got, and I had to look up the other one was
Gamble, I think. Troy Gamble.
Yeah, Troy Gamble.
Mike Fountain, maybe.
Oh no, was it Mike Fountain?
Oh,
because Corey Hirsch. Sorry, Mike Fountain and Corey Schneider. The Corey's was mixing me up. Mike Fountain was the other one, and he opened his career with a shutout. I remember that.
Well, household names around
Mike Fountain, Troy Gamble.
Those aren't household names in BC, let alone wherever the.
Are we sure it was Troy Gamble? Even now, I forget. It might have been Caesar Maniego.
It was Troy Gamble.
Troy Gamble sounds right.
You don't want to take that gamble on who you think it may or may not have been.
It's before our time.
We'll put the money on Gamble.
The Canucks do retain 25% of Michael Del Zotto's salary, but he's gone. Do we need to have a retrospective of his career in Vancouver?
I'm going to miss his Basant Motors commercials, but that's about it.
Well, let me tell you.
But Anton Roussel does a really good job.
Really? Does he make you want to think about switching automobile brands?
He's got a great accent. I enjoy listening to that on my drive to work.
And Antoine Roussel?
Yeah, his accent.
He's a very charming guy. I think the first time I ever caught him after a game was this last one where he got the winner against the Wings. And well, actually, I've probably I've got him a couple times, but hilarious. People ask him questions, and he does try to think about it for a second and then give you a clever answer, even though you can tell his English is amazing, but like he's planning it out a little bit to make sure he gives you the right delivery and stuff. So he's Alex Burrows 2.0. I was saying that at the game against the Wings even before he scored. I'm just like, he fits right in. I'm glad they signed him.
Yeah.
He's the dirtbag player that you hate until he gets onto your team.
And then all of a sudden,
you love him.
Oh, he's fantastic. What are all those years in Dallas? I don't remember.
And every team, if the guy can play, and that's the case with Roussel for sure, he's on pace to set records for points for his career. He's already matched his goal total and exceeded his point total from last season.
Yeah.
But you need a couple guys like that. Your Burrows, Jarkko Ruutus, Antoine Roussels.
We all love him. Jacob Markstrom's hot. He only has 3 losses in his last 15 games played, and those all came when the Canucks were shut out.
Okay.
Against the Habs, that was the Petey
by
injury.
Canadian teams.
Yes, he only loses and he only gets shut out to Canadian teams. And I mean, I don't know what we're seeing here. It's delightful. Confidence is a potent thing, and it's a positive thing to see that he is doing these windmill-like acrobatic saves instead of just kind of...
And is Vancouver still hanging on to a wild card spot then?
At time of recording on Monday, I believe they are a playoff team, and they would... actually, I don't even know how they would play against... they would probably go against somebody in the Central Division, Paul, right?
No. The teams in the Pacific, the top 3 have skyrocketed in the last little bit, so they'd be playing Calgary in the first round the last I checked.
Well, so we can book it here, folks. It's going to be a first-round matchup, all-Canadian, one anthem, Calgary, Vancouver.
Oh, there's a good
Markstrom can't start, though.
No.
There's a good chance if Vancouver finishes in a wild card spot that it's Calgary or Winnipeg first round.
Shit.
So
Well, that whole team tank thing doesn't sound... Boy, that's sure a polarizing debate in the city this week.
Here's an interesting thing, though. When you look at those teams, even those 3 teams in the Pacific that have shot up so quickly, so you got your Knights, your Flames, your Sharks, that are considerably better than the other teams in the Pacific. As good as those teams have looked, and have been lately especially, I could see any of them following to a wild card team in the first round. Like, you could have a legitimate upset. Like, they're good teams, but they're not
There's holes on those
unbeatable.
teams.
Right.
Yeah.
I still think Nashville, Winnipeg would be pretty tough to beat.
Yeah.
Like, they're, I think, the 2 best teams in the West, but not
Destined to meet in the second round.
not completely unless one of them falls with injuries late in the season, gets a wild card spot, and can win their way through Calgary and San Jose to get there.
That almost seems like the way to do it for one of those teams. Just kind of, let's just trickle down here a little bit.
It'd be interesting if you get a matchup with those 2 in the first round, full strength, guns a-blazing, and then they might have time to, like, heal before the conference final, whoever they have to meet from the Pacific. I don't know. The playoffs are going to be fun no matter what. But yeah, I mean, there is parity in the league where I think there are better teams, but maybe not juggernauts.
We're gonna see Nashville and Winnipeg face each other in the second round and beat the crap out of each other. We're gonna watch the Toronto Maple Leafs unfortunately have to play the Boston Bruins for the umpteenth straight time, and that team, the Boston Bruins, just make our Toronto Maple Leafs just look human and normal. And
Although Toronto's looking really human right now, aren't they?
yeah, they are completely healthy, and things are not working out too well.
It's Nylander's spot.
No, Geeta Nylander got an assist in a 4-2 loss at home against the Arizona Coyotes, so it is not his problem.
Oh, he's contributing.
He is chipping away.
Can you imagine that manager's fist fight after the game out back or whatever? You get the Chaika
and Dubas.
and Dubas letting things loose, you know.
Couple of
People tell us to do the old school hockey thing. Well, let's do it. And then they just, you know, and
Fight.
Dubas's glasses are broken. It's just a mess.
Fighting in a barn in upstate New York, somewhere Brian Burke is shedding a delightful
No, it'll be
tear.
like in a back alley in Arizona, you know. It'll be like one of those warm Arizona nights. Little dry. Hold on, I need my nose spray. Anyway.
I would take Chaika in that. Chaika.
I think he's got the height.
He looks angrier. Like,
Does he?
look where he's playing. Look where he's the GM, the Arizona Coyotes. He's like, I need to pack up my home and then I have to redecorate it to look either like Quebec City or like Houston or Kansas City. He has all these interior decorators on the line based on, you know, what city's team is going to get relegated.
That was an
relocated
interesting
relegated.
Interesting direction to take that conversation.
Well, he also looks mad because his team is terrible. His leading goal scorer is Brad Richardson.
Some of us like Brad Richardson.
We all like Brad Richardson, but he shouldn't be the guy
It
putting
shouldn't
in.
be the leading scorer on any team.
Hey, that's what people said about Derek Dorsett.
And that couple of weeks was a real fairy tale.
Oh.
As you did say about the Toronto Maple Leafs, they are looking human. William Nylander has 1 goal and 3 assists. He got his 4th point of the year against Arizona on Sunday. Freddie Anderson has been back for 4 games. They're 1-3 with him back between the pipes. Although he missed he didn't play one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they can make a deal for Craig Anderson. He's back from injury again. He's winning at least. Or no, I don't even know if he won. He didn't look bad anyway.
Well, no, because somehow to be on brand for the Maple Leafs this year, to have a whole bunch of goalies and then just one day to like lose 3 on the waiver wire.
Right.
So maybe
Take the one from Edmonton that's seemingly available.
he does seem very available now. That
And they've got enough cap room for another superstar.
oh my God, they have no cap room.
Toronto's fine. Freddie Anderson, they like him there. But yeah, I do think Cam Talbot's getting moved. There'll be some interesting goalie moves. Cam Talbot will get moved probably. I think Craig Anderson, there's a good chance with Anders Nielsen's play in Ottawa and where they are at
Listen to you.
You know, I've been known to pump Anders Nielsen's tires in the past.
And it worked again.
He looked really good in Ottawa. And I know that part of that is probably just going to a new organization. Like that happens to a lot of guys. But they're not a team that needs a guy like Craig Anderson. And there's a lot of teams that'll give them a pretty penny, maybe a first round pick. I don't know about that. But they're in the market for a first round pick if one's to be had.
Who?
Ottawa Senators. Yeah, even Jonathan Quick, depending on what the Kings are looking like in the next couple weeks, those are the type of guys that could get a huge get at the deadline.
Well, Ken Holland was like, he rattled off his Kings ransom for Jimmy Howard of all goalies, and a first round pick was said to be required in it. Of course, that's just GM posturing.
Right.
They just give that Kyle Dukakis guy say, hey, put this out there. We need to get his value up. So I don't know what that'll actually bring, but yeah, there's some...
I heard, it sounds like Jimmy Howard.
I'll give you a fifth and a Delzato.
Well, we don't have a He's still here. Oh, we'd like to negate that trade. We need to get
Hey, we got a Shen. You can throw if you're coming out of Vancouver. But yeah. Anyway, there's some goalies to be had. I heard Jimmy Howard there's a good chance he's staying in Detroit now.
Everybody seems to want to stay in Detroit or go back to Detroit as we wait for Steve Yzerman to be announced as the new GM of that squad.
Yeah. So
was he there? Did Ken Holland look concerned? Was he looking over his shoulder a lot when did you see him in the press box there?
No, I mean, they sit behind me, so I'm not really watching them.
So you're looking over your shoulder at Ken Holland. He's like, boy, God, that P Mac down there, he looks real nervous. Like he's
worried I'm going to take his job. But that breakfast sure looks good.
I guess I'll have to put the On the Rig music in post. Hey, make sure you sign up for the Pucks on Net newsletter. Go to pucksnet.ca to sign up for that. I have a lot of fun putting that one out every Friday. You guys been reading that, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
You know I make it all the way to the bottom. It's worthwhile. And Dave blogged this week.
Dave, yeah, it's been sent off to the editor, and I'm supposed to blog this week too a couple times. So there'll be that. Oh,
blogged?
There were some typos in the newsletter this week. I was going to tell you if that went through the editor.
What do we got to do to get a regular Matt Duchesne feature?
Yeah, you should write a Matt Duchesne feature this week, Paul.
Yeah, this isn't helping you if you want me to write blog posts. I did hear, though, they're still talking contract in Ottawa.
Seems like he wants to stay.
Like he's found a home where people seemingly like him.
I like what Ottawa's got right now. I know there's circumstances outside of the roster that's on the ice, but there's been enough unexpected guys overachieving there that I'm like, well, if you can turn things around, obviously not having that first round pick hurts, but if you can keep Duchesne around, which is the goal, they didn't want to spend the money on Kyle Turris, which seems like the right decision this season. Turris isn't bad, but he's not producing at a rate that warrants the money he's getting.
Kyle Turris is looking human again, like the way he did when he played for the Ottawa Senators.
Right.
It's almost like when we were initially having that argument over who was better, Turris or Duchesne, and everybody pooped on me, and I became president of the Matt Duchesne fan club.
Well, no,
I was right in saying Matt Duchesne was by far the best player in that deal.
Well, Paul, you started out only as treasurer of the Matt Duchesne fan club. You worked your way up to president.
That one day. And now it's looking like he could get $9 million a year long term. And Kyle
Turris negotiating for him?
He is doing the negotiating. It's a Anders Nilsson-like thing.
Yeah, no, when Anders Nilsson got to Ottawa, I gave Matt Duchesne my card.
I like that all your favorite players are on one team.
Yeah, no, I am a big fan of Thomas Chabot.
Yeah, but as you were saying, there's so many.
Chabot's like the new Erik Karlsson.
Well,
I'm not even exaggerating.
Now,
he is better. was for a while. Carlson's definitely stepped it up again lately.
This is where I pump P Mac's scouting tires because at the beginning of the season, when I was laughing at Paul for doing his prep for the Pucks on Net Fantasy League, and he's like, and he drafts Thomas Chabot, and I go, what are you doing drafting a Senator for? He's like, he's their best defenseman. He's going to play big minutes. He's going to play on the power play. And now, Thomas Chabot looks fantastic.
Point of game player from the blue line.
You know what?
My other blue liners have all disappeared. Literally, I've let half of them go.
Michael Delzato.
No, I didn't go for Delzato, but Will Butcher, poor kid, didn't show up this year.
No,
anyway,
he didn't.
But Thomas Chabot didn't get the sophomore jinx.
And they have Brady Tkachuk, who's playing very well.
Yeah, not as good as he did earlier in the season. He came out really strong, and even after he came back from that he was out for about a month injured.
Mm-hmm.
He's come back. He's still contributing, but not at the offensive rate that he was earlier in the season. But there's a lot of kids that have stepped up in Ottawa, and if they can hold on to a Matt Duchene, and the weird thing is Bobby Ryan not earning his money necessarily, but because you're going with a youth movement, it doesn't matter as much, and he's providing a veteran presence, and he's a guy you can play there with Duchene in some shifts once in a while. He shows flashes of...
Is he still... Is he playing?
Yeah, Bobby Ryan's still out there.
I thought his hand exploded again.
Oh, maybe recently.
Oh, yeah, I think
he was out there the other day.
Oh, okay. I think,
Last Senators game I watched, I'm pretty sure he was out there.
Good. Well, yeah. And
anyway, Ottawa isn't as bad as it looks. Depending on what they do in the next 2 years, they could have a quick turnaround.
Yeah, I'm not doubting that for a second. Here's a useless stat I found off the internet about our boy Elias Pettersson. He has more points, 44, as a Canuck than any other Canuck to wear the number 40. Do you know those Canucks, Paul? Have you looked at this rundown?
I did look at the rundown, but yeah, I'm pretty sure. I know the recent ones: Grabner, Lapierre. There were one or two others?
There's one other. Mike Zalewski?
Yeah, Zalewski. He came up. He played 5 games out of college at the end of a season not that long ago.
Yeah, he got 2 points. Lapierre got 30 points, and Michael Grabner got 11 points in 20 games. So Elias Pettersson is better than all 3 of those combined.
I still wish they had given him 14. He wore 14, I think, in the World Juniors.
Why didn't they? Is there a reason?
He was wearing 40 last year in the Swedish league, so I don't know if he asked for 40 or if the team just printed it up.
Is 14 reserved for the Ring of Honor?
Reserved, not reserved. It's not out of circulation, but don't touch it. Wink, wink. Yeah,
it was one of those things okay, well, if you're going to give a guy like Burrow's number away after, letting it sit for a year, I feel like he'd be fine with Pettersson taking up that.
See, I totally thought it was for Courtnall.
Yeah, and 10's on the rafters for Tambellini now. It's ridiculous.
Jeff.
Or is it Trevor Letowski?
Brandon Reed.
Estetikman wore it too.
I kind of like the 40. It's unique. There are not a lot of players that wear number 40.
No,
outside of your pal Hank Zetterberg.
Yeah, no, I mean that might be why he picked up 40 when he couldn't get 14 previously. It's not a bad number, but. I'm not a fan of non-traditional hockey numbers. I want them to print out jerseys 1 through 31, and then you just have to choose from those.
Is that why you got? Yeah. Is that why you've always had resentment towards Wayne Gretzky?
What resentment to Wayne Gretzky?
Such a high number. You should be wearing number 18.
Well, he originally wore 9, and his agent convinced him to wear 99. That's not on Gretz.
All right.
Same thing with Lemieux. You're going to turn the hockey world upside down, Mario. You should wear 66. All right. I don't really care.
All right. Hey, you guys want to hear an F-bomb that was caught by CBC?
Okay.
This is from the...
Is this unusual? I feel like those are caught fairly often.
Well, this one was really good, and that's why it stuck out. Okay. This is the Flyers in Montreal at the Bell Center late in the second period. Fucking take a look.
I thought it was in an interview.
No, it's just a Flyer is very upset with himself. Maybe he's speaking to himself in the second person.
Right.
It's not as good as Phil Kessel giving the puck away.
God damn it.
That's my favorite mic'd player moment.
I think my favorite Mike player moment is when Ray Ferraro made fun of Dion Phaneuf on the live feed that went to the internet feed when he was making during a I guess it was a Senators game when he was making fun of his high pitched voice.
Yeah.
And it made me kind of think that
was he playing or he was
playing.
Okay,
Dion
so this is no Ferraro.
No.
I was like, yeah, because I mean they would have played at the same time, but that's going back a ways.
I suppose I was rather lenient on the term mic'd up because Ray Ferraro was a commentator at the time, but his mic was left on for the internet feed, and he was like, Did you hear Dion? And whoop, come on, boys! Just I love.
They were probably teammates back in the day.
Ray Ferraro didn't play that late, did he?
Oh, they would have overlapped, yeah, because Pronger started in the...
Oh, I'm said Dion Phaneuf.
Oh, Dion Phaneuf. Sorry, I don't know why I went to Chris Pronger.
You heard...
I'm
falling asleep.
I think you just you keep Dion and Chris in the same superstar.
You know, if Dion had played in a different era, he could have been Chris Pronger. In a dead puck era, we'd be feeling a lot different about Dion Phaneuf.
Yeah, that's fair. Hey, the All-Star Game's coming up this weekend.
Are the Canucks on their break now?
I think they play.
I'm working Wednesday, so how they set it up is they've aligned the mandated 5-day break every team's supposed to get every year. So your team either gets it in the 5 days leading up to the All-Star break or right after the All-Star break. So 20 teams, I think, go. I forget if it's this week or next week. I think it's this week because in the hockey pool, I have like 10 fewer games than whoever I'm playing this week. Ridiculous. But yeah, the schedule's a little wonky, so that, yeah, guys, if you're not playing in the All-Star game weekend, you can get like 10 days off in a row or something.
Are the Canucks...
So as of Sunday, there'll be 5 days off for the Canucks.
I think they are off next week, however it lines up.
Okay.
I would be surprised if they got Monday off, too.
That's what I'm saying.
They could play all
Yeah, if they're playing Wednesday, they'll probably have a bunch of days off next week.
Who's hurt? Just Brandon Sutter? No, he's back.
No one's hurt right now.
Wow.
They've played 3 games all season. These last 2 are the second and third games where there have been no players on the IR or no players at least missing due to injury.
So you're telling me that the Canucks are going to come back after like 10 days off, completely refreshed and rejuvenated.
Well, and they're playing fewer games than everybody this month just because they had played more games than anyone by the end of the calendar year. So it's been a good month for players like Pettersson. If they're going to get an injury, there's more time to recover. There's fewer games. So you're not missing as much. Theoretically, if they can stay fresh. And I always say going into the season in today's NHL, a big part of it is how many players can you get to take a big step forward and get things out of them that you don't expect? And then, how many players can you keep healthy on the ice? Because if a team like the Canucks stays healthy, they're as good as a lot of these really good teams. They just don't have the depth to keep up with a Winnipeg or Nashville, really, because as soon as a couple guys get hurt come playoff time, you're calling in, well, now it'll be Luke Shen, used to be Darren Archibald. These guys are like, they're good guys. You like them. They play hard. Wait, which Shen did they get? I've already forgotten.
Matt Stajan.
Yeah, they got
Matt Stajan, yeah. I think Chris Pronger got traded to Vancouver, too. He's still on the payroll, probably.
Yeah, they could come across that Pronger, Datsuk, Nathan Horton payroll kicking around.
Convince them to come back with the Sedins signing their Mike Fisher deals.
Wait a minute, Paul. What are you cooking up over there?
The timing's right.
Yeah, we're getting close to that Mike Fisher deadline where Carey Fisher's going to show up at a Canucks game and be like, "Did you hear? Daniel and Henrik are coming back."
And then she's going to chug a beer out of the inside of a catfish.
For one more playoff push.
What's Mike Fisher doing right now?
He just released a country album.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I'm not making
that. Are you serious?
No, that was one thing I wanted to do for a bonus episode for Patreon. Is
that the intro to On the Rig?
No, the intro to On the Rig is "Burn It to the Ground" by Nickelback. Sorry, "Burn It to the Ground" by Peter Chiarelli, because that's what he's doing in Edmonton.
Yep, Mike Fisher. Look for his record coming out with Third Man soon.
Oh, he better not be. Not if I have anything to do about it as a subscriber.
Do you have Mike Fisher?
Like in general?
No, like his music.
Ryan signed him to his fantasy pool. Is that what you mean? Yeah, Ryan has him. He picked up Nino Niederreiter.
How do you
And
spell
he's-
Fisher?
Fisher.
Let's go, Mike Fisher.
I don't think he has a C in it, does he?
I don't think so.
All right. This is from the new album, Burn a Memory Down. This is called Honky Tonk Callin'.
Guitars and bars were in my stars. It's everything that I love when the sun starts falling and moonlight's on the trees. I hear the honky tonk calling. The honky tonk's calling me.
I enjoy that.
He's also got a song called When It Rains, Whiskey Pours. He's got another one called Burn a Memory Down. And
Is this really the Mike Fisher from hockey? It's not some other guy?
it's
Because he sounds really polished.
it's him.
I don't think it's him. I think this is all an elaborate ruse, Ryan.
Oh, here it is. Mike Fisher. Okay, it's not out yet. Oh, here we go. Before She Bleats.
This is our album release party now.
This is
It looks like he did a cover of a song and joked about recording an album, and then people have created this elaborate ruse.
Oh, okay. Well, the guy on this cover, he really looked like Mike Fisher.
We've been rused.
It probably is. There's this great program called Photoshop, Ryan, and people can do whatever they want. You have to be careful because some of it is not real news. I'm not going to say what it is.
Matt Duchesne released that album. I would have believed it.
That was Matt Duchesne. When It Rains, It Ottawa Pours. I kind of want to leave that in. I think I will. Let's go to some questions from Twitter here.
Is one of them from Mike Fisher?
This one comes from Fish Daddy 69 out of the greater Nashville area.
I don't know how to finish this riff. Can you boys help me out?
For those listening, that was not the Nashville Predators' Mike Fisher, and I will try and track it down at a later date. This question comes from, let's go to this one here, Laurie Edwards at Laurie Yass. He asked a handful of questions and a fun one. So we'll go to we'll rattle these off. Virtanen for an A for an assistant captaincy. I have other things to worry about. I want to see out of him before I see him wearing a letter on his sweater, but I don't know about you, Paul.
Well, as I've been saying with like even the selection of a captain, the guys in the room will know who's best suited for these jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Off the top of my head, I would say no from what I've seen, not because he's not ready, but there's a lot of other guys that have probably shown more leadership qualities. I also feel like Jake's still somewhat impressionable. They're still molding him somewhat. I really like him playing. We've been singing Antoine Roussel's praises. The two of them flanking someone together, I feel like Virtanen plays a feistier, more energetic game when he's with Roussel. And I know that might be pushing him out of the top six that some people want him to play in. I feel like those two could be a Bash brothers and turn Virtanen into that type of agitator. And you know what? If you end up getting a guy who can score 15 goals, 35 points or whatever consistently out of Virtanen, but contributes in that way, I think that's a win in the end. But I like those two guys together. There's still potential for more out of the guy, but
Yeah.
right now I really like those guys playing together, and I still feel like he's in a learning mode. He's not as cocky and confident maybe as a Pettersson or a Bo Horvat.
Yeah.
The guys, even a Brock Besser, the youngsters that could be considered to take over some of the leadership reins in the next year or two.
He's still going uphill. He's still got a lot of work
He
ahead
still
of him.
comes across as very young.
Yeah, it's impressionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they would know better in the room. I'm making assumptions and guesses based on
I don't want to use the word
what I see on
immature, but
TV and in person.
like whatever he's going to be, he's still developing.
Yeah, he's not there yet.
No.
And that's okay.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Not everybody is a Dougie Gilmore or whatever you want to slap a letter on. Not everybody's a killer.
We'll put a K on your sweater.
I don't know why Gilmore came to mind there. He just did.
Gilmore. Hart versus Demko. Who
That
will?
stage and connection.
He's no Ryan Smith.
Hart versus Demko. He's talking about Carter Hart of the Flyers. Who will single-handedly save their franchise's goaltending woes? And as much as I'm excited about Thatcher Demko, the Philadelphia Flyers have not had a goalie since 1997. So if Carter Hart can do it, it's definitely him.
I mean, I guess if you're looking at it from a situation of like headlines, they're both, I mean, at this point in time, they look to have similar potential. It was interesting when the lead up to the World Juniors this year was going on and everyone in town was talking about Michael DiPietro. I remember after a game, I missed my bus, so I went to the white spot and the waiter was going off to me. You know, just waiting because it's a long wait and it's cold some nights in Vancouver. You know,
that one night
down to like 10 degrees or whatever outside.
Look, it was -1 this morning, Paul, when I got in my car to go to work.
I'm just trying to make Dave feel bad. But anyway, the waiter's going, Michael DiPietro, goalie of the future. People forget, like, Demko was the goalie at the World Juniors a few years back.
Yeah.
And he's put in his time, and he's had success on some terrible teams in Utica. He, you know, once they give him the reins, but there's no reason to right now with Markstrom, which is great.
Right.
Both of those guys should be good goaltenders, and we'll have to see. But, yeah, I guess Vancouver's had success at least recently with goaltending, not immediately, but I mean, like, when you think about Roberto Luongo.
I don't want to jinx it or anything.
In the last like 15 years, there's been a goalie or two that's been okay for Vancouver.
Yeah.
So, but I get what you're saying.
Here's a good question. If you were to make your own Subway sandwich and name it after a current Canuck player, who would it be and what would be on it? I was thinking about this today at work, and do you remember when they had like that lobster sub that cost like $9?
Okay, yeah.
It would be that, and that would be the Louis Eriksson because it's way too expensive,
right?
And nobody really wants to eat lobster from Subway.
Yeah.
So it would be
not that good.
Yeah, it'd be a lobster. The Louis Eriksson would be a lobster Subway sub, foot long, just heavy and unnecessarily large.
So it's you know, you'd expect if you were getting it for cheaper, you'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
But if you're paying that much money, you expect something much better.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a Louis Eriksson for you.
I got another one.
Okay.
Jake Virtanen a couple of years ago would be a cold cut combo.
Not even a new sandwich. I mean, you could just go with like the meaty Petey, and it would just be everything in the restaurant on there, and it's just, you know, surprisingly works out.
I'm gonna go with turkey on honey oat, all the veggies, just some mustard and mayo. I'll name it after Bo Horvat. That seems like a leader among sandwiches.
A very reasonable sandwich.
It's you know.
I thought it was gonna be a Sean Monahan. It's boring.
That too.
Just enough mustard to get a little flavor.
Yeah. This sandwich isn't going to be playing any video games, but it's solid. It's dependable. It's going to do the job.
And it doesn't have a lot of. It doesn't have tomatoes on it, so it won't get soggy. Like it's gonna withstand the test of time. I like your reasoning behind that, Geeta. P Mac, you got anything in mind?
I said my meaty Petey.
Oh yeah, meaty Petey. My apologies.
It's everything.
I think there's like one of the other more expensive sandwiches is the like chicken bacon ranch, which used to be really expensive, like $8.50, and it sounds good, so it's kind of like Brandon Sutter, where you know it doesn't sound too bad, but then you realize how much it costs and you know how long it takes to digest it, and you're like, oh, maybe I don't want to eat the Brandon Sutter, not much. Paul, you hungry?
I'm good.
You want a meaty Petey?
Paul's like, I don't go to Subway every week.
This question
you
was...
go to Subway once because you get stuck in traffic for an hour and a half trying to drive 6 kilometers. And this is the thanks I get.
You ever thought about getting we can get a helicopter with the Patreon dollars to get you here. We'll
yeah, you get on that.
I will. I'll make it happen.
I'd rather just get a paycheck.
You want some money?
All the money.
All the money?
I told you to do Friday podcast.
On the rig, baby.
Yeah, we'll look at that. We'll look at that one again.
Now, this is an interesting question that made me think. From
on the rig, on the reg.
This comes from Ryan Hank, always 94. Does Travis Green still burn CDs, or is he an iTunes guy? Doubt he streams.
Don't get CD burners anymore.
I still think Travis Green would listen to CDs. He's kind of stuck in his early 2000s, late 90s kind of ways. Like that was his glory days.
The question ended with, I don't think he streams, and I feel attacked.
Why?
I'm like the last person.
I don't stream.
With a Discman?
Yeah. I'm an iTunes person. I don't know. I don't listen to as much new music as I used to.
I don't really like streaming. I'll stream stuff at work on Spotify, but that's about it.
I stream
a bit at home, but I don't have any of the like services you have to pay for.
I think Travis Green...
I don't have anything to download anything on.
I think if you broke into Travis Green's car, he would have a big binder that you would buy at Future Shop just full of CDs.
Those old CD binders.
Albums, yeah.
Yeah, that's how he listens to music.
I mean, he's the right age. That like he would have been Frosted Tips and Puka Shells, right?
Oh, Much Dance 97.
That's it.
Yeah,
would have been like late 20s in the late 90s, right? So yeah, he would have been...
Didn't need to learn the new technology.
He would have fit in with the cast of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So yeah, probably CDs. But yeah, he probably has one of those old disc or round circle iPod. I don't even know what those are called.
Oh,
anymore.
an iPod Classic.
The Classic, yeah. I've still got one of those somewhere, and it's got more
iPod
storage
1.
space than my phone.
I spent a whole month ripping all my compact discs to this iPod Classic, and I'm never throwing it out. You know how much time
The 1 gig it carries.
I got all the Tragically Hip records in
Remember
this.
the tiny little shuffles?
Yeah.
Those didn't carry much either. Now, my Classic that I have was like the last one they did. So I do have like 250 gigs of storage, and I keep thinking like, why do I bother using my phone space up? I could just keep this in the car. But I don't know where it is right now.
You're juggling 2 Apple devices. You look like one of those people in an infomercial. Like,
I'd leave it in the car, but now everybody knows they break into my car.
Nobody break into Paul's Suzuki.
Why did you tell him it's a Suzuki? Anyway, yeah. I think I lent it to someone.
The way he gives out my address.
One of these days, Ryan, we're going to reveal some of your secrets.
Well, if you subscribe to the Pucks on Net newsletter, my address is by law has on the bottom of it.
So, I didn't know that.
Yeah, neither.
Because of spam laws.
Let's go over and egg his house. This is why you get a P.O. box.
Listen, if there's any stalkers listening, and I know
Ryan's
there is,
into it.
You want to come by my house? You want to buzz my tower? I got a pool ball in a tube sock right next to my door. I'll come down and we'll meet you.
And you got that landlord that harasses me when I try to come over to record.
I don't worry about having a badass like John that's walking around the proximity, scaring guys like P Mac.
He did give me a hard time when I went over there last time.
I've never met him.
You don't want to.
Okay.
He's very delightful. This question comes from our editor, Stephanie Pagani. Why won't Ryan write a follow-up blog post about the Horvat captaincy and his evolving thoughts on the matter?
Don't we talk about this all the time?
We do, and apparently, and
Am I winning you over, Ryan? Are your views evolving?
I will write a blog post this week because we have talked about this a lot, and this is the first thing we wrote for the website is how Bo Horvat was the clear-cut winner to be the captain. And based on what we've talked about and based on what Paul has elegantly brought to the table, I'm not as cut and dry decided that Bo Horvat will be the captain. Do I want to be the captain? Absolutely. Do I think it's night and day? No, I don't. So I'll write about that. There was a question from Frederick. What are the chances of EP40 to wear the C instead of Bo? Read it in the blog.
Well, we talked about that a bit last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely possibility there. Mm-hmm. Interesting thing at the Wings game, I saw Elias having a long conversation with one of the officials, which, it isn't everything. Some young guys will chat up the officials, but it's not something you often see out of the rookies where they go over and ask them some questions or point some things out or whatever. And
this was a rookie that they were expecting, wouldn't be able to, was little and delicate and impressionable, and hopefully he could find his way from his condo to the rink because he's such a young little wee baby, and now he's carrying himself in a way that nobody predicted he would.
And when anybody asks him a dumbass question, he just looks at them like they're a dumbass. He's a little Red Foreman.
Geeta, you brought us all fortune cookies.
I did.
I figure we can wrap up the pod. Oh, I had an anecdote.
Okay.
because we haven't done Dump and Chase in a while, and we've relegated to the expensive show on Patreon. And I figured I would try and tell it on the show here, and if you don't like it, we'll just edit it out.
Okay.
And if you listeners, if it makes it to the show and you don't like it, tell Ryan and he won't tell these stories.
No, I just thought it was pretty funny of just it's me like pronouncing it Andrea's wrestling, where I just I'm a clear buffoon. But I went over to a girl's house that I've gone on a couple dates with, and it was what do you want to do? And my genius idea was to watch the Surviving R. Kelly doc, and that's not necessarily it's a bit of a buzzkill.
That's not a date event. I feel like.
And then the other thing is
poor taste.
I forgot to I learned that she had a cat, and I forgot to pop Claritin before I got there.
Oh yeah.
And I can't have Claritin before I can't have it at after 5 p.m. because I was doing that when I was going to BCIT, and it was kind of making me very, very euphoric to the point where I was like, this class is amazing, this illustrator class, and then you're up all night.
Right.
So I was sitting.
That's a weird reaction to allergy pills. Are you sure those are allergy pills you've been taking?
I hope so. Anyway, so I left because I was getting more and more allergic to the cats, and after I said
multiple cats,
one cat,
okay,
but it's very friendly. So this cat was sitting on me for most of the a good part of the evening,
yeah.
And then when I said goodnight, I turned around outside and my face exploded with snot, and I sneezed all over the place. It was pretty bad.
And she saw it?
She didn't see it.
Well, that's not as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, so I'm really glad that, but I just thought when I was driving home that everything I could have done correctly, I did horribly wrong. I didn't think anything out.
Well, I'm sorry. I hope you don't get dumped and chased.
Yeah, even during the day when he said, we're going to watch this documentary, I was like, I don't think so.
It's
you
quite.
should have given Tim the tip, Al Borland.
I did. I was like, I wouldn't.
But it's going to be really interesting. Anyway, kids, that's the little PSA. Don't do that. On to our fortune cookies as we wrap up the show. I'm going to go with
on the lighter note.
Encourage tranquility if you are feeling agitated.
Yeah, see, I told you my problem with fortune cookies now is it's not a fortune, it's advice. I don't need a cookie telling me what to do.
Hilariously, mine says encourage tranquility if you are feeling agitated.
Oh, Geeta, I think you
got a hat trick. Encourage tranquility. No. The project that you have in mind now gains momentum.
Oh.
I guess I got to follow through on all this stuff I've been thinking of doing.
Paul's got to be productive this week, and we just...
What was that?
Did all those extra podcasts.
Oh, that's not what I want to do. That's not my project.
We'll wrap it up on that disappointing fortune note.
We probably shouldn't have eaten our cookies at this moment.
Well, I haven't put mine in my mouth yet, so you guys can eat your cookies while I do the plugs. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at pucksonnetca or pucksonnetca. And if you want to support the show monetarily, you can over at patreon.com/pucksonnet, where you can pledge a couple of bucks. $5 to be exact can get you instant access to all our bonus shows. So if you feel like getting a little more content each week and supporting the show, keeping the lights on, all that jazz, you can do that over at patreon.com/pucksonnet.
Usually those dating stories are behind that paywall, so you're welcome, listeners, to hear about Ryan's
stupidity.
Unfortunate situations.
Well, we can take Ryan's stupidity into 5 minutes for pain. You can tell the story of the lovely old lady that we encountered on Robson's.
Oh my
God. Save it.
Oh, I'm so glad I wrote
Wrap
that.
up the show.
iTunes, go rate, give us a rating and a review. We're on a positive rating review. Please subscribe to the newsletter. Go like the Facebook page. Go like us on Instagram. And once again, please go subscribe to our weekly newsletter. It's free. It's one non-spammy email a week. And now we have a very good story to tell with a much happier ending with much less snot.